So the first thing that I'm doing is putting some foundation over my lips, and then I realize how gross I look without a lip color. I'm going in with liquid latex. This one is by Ben Nye. You can get liquid latex anywhere. I actually just saw like a huge bottle at Walmart for like under $10. So I'm just taking a little sponge and putting down some liquid latex, and then I'm taking little tiny pieces of cotton, ripping them up and kind of stretching them out, and then putting them over the liquid latex, and then I'm going to go in and put another layer of liquid latex over the cotton, and then you kind of have to mold the shape that you want once that liquid latex is over the cotton. And then around the edges, I'm taking the end of my tweezers because it kind of has like a flat surface, and I'm flattening that down to my skin because I want this to look like it's actually my skin and not just something sitting on top of my skin. So by flattening out the edges, I'm just going to make that as flat as possible to my own skin, just so you can't tell what is actually my skin and what is not. You want to make sure that you cover the entire cotton with the liquid latex because that kind of, as it dries, it kind of is going to dry down to a mold. So I'm just taking my tweezers and pulling it apart because I want this to look like really gross and kind of like skin hanging. So once the liquid latex dries, it molds and you can kind of move it around as well. You can kind of be creative with this and pull apart smaller pieces and larger pieces and just kind of make it how you want it to look. So I'm just going around my whole top lip doing the same thing, putting down latex, putting down cotton, putting down more liquid latex, and then pulling it apart. You want this to look as messy as possible. The more uniform it looks, I feel like that's how it looks fake. So you just want this to look as different as possible. And then I'm just going in and mapping out underneath like where I want the mouth to be, and I'm putting down red because the inside is going to be like bloody and stuff, so I just don't want you to be able to see my regular skin. So I actually suggest doing that first. If you do the whole mouth and then put in the red paint, you might ruin your brushes. So I would just do like kind of map out your mouth first. But I'm using old brushes, so it doesn't really matter. And then just doing the same thing on the bottom. I'm kind of making the opening start at my chin because I want the opening of the mouth to be a little bit bigger. So then I'm going in with red eyeshadow, and I'm going to deepen up some of the cuts, and then I'm going in with black and brown eyeshadow as well, because the darker the color, the deeper the cut is going to look. So I just want this to look really bloody and kind of like scabby, so that's why I'm going in with those colors. And then I'm going to go over the entire mouth area, everywhere that's white, with brown eyeshadow, because if I were just to put my foundation over the white, my foundation would look really orange. So you kind of want to deepen up the color of the cotton balls a little bit before you put your foundation down. It's also just going to add depth and dimension and kind of make it look like there's like veins and like blood and stuff like that, and kind of like infection. I'm also going around the edges of the mouth because I want that to kind of look like infected a little bit, and that's also going to make it look more natural, like that's actually your mouth and not just something stuck on your face. So that's going to make it look a little bit more realistic too. So I'm just going in and adding depth and dimension everywhere, and I'm also putting purple as well because purple kind of is like the color of infection, and then you can also do like yellows and stuff to imitate bruising. Then I'm going in with my foundation and I'm covering up the entire mouth area. If I feel like the foundation covers up any of the details that I just did, I'll kind of go over them again. But when you do layers like that, and put the foundation over this, it makes it look like 10 times more real. So yeah, if I just feel like there's any of it got lost in with the foundation, I'll just go over it a little bit, but you can kind of see it come together after I'm done with the foundation. You want to make sure that you go over the edges too, because you want this to look like it's actually coming out of your skin. Then as you see here, I'm going back in and kind of retouching up some of the spots that got lost. I'm taking the end of my eyeshadow brush and I'm kind of making some of the holes more noticeable, and I'm like stretching them out a little bit more with the end of my brush. This is so weird to watch this because it actually looks like my mouth, and it looks like I'm like hurting myself right now. But then I'm going in with the Ben Nye Fresh Scab. This blood is like ideal for any type of wound because it's like a gel. It doesn't like drip or anything, so you can really like put this in like those deeper wounds to make it look more realistic. So that's what I'm doing. I'm kind of scooping some out and putting it in some of the deeper holes that I have in my wound, and it just like makes it look so realistic. And then I'm like spreading some around and kind of you can just kind of be creative with this. I'm just kind of putting it everywhere and making sure to keep it darker where the deeper wounds are. I also like the scab blood because it kind of makes it look like three-dimensional instead of like regular liquid blood just like kind of drying on the surface. So this one just makes it look like, you know, it's 3D and like it's more realistic. I'm creating different textures by dotting the blood. It kind of makes it look like it was splattered. And make sure you go over the outsides of the mouth as well.
Et Spiritus Sancti.
My dark blood is by Ben Nye as well. This is just more of a liquid blood. This scab blood kind of looks more dry. So this one you can kind of create the illusion of fresh blood. I'm just creating drips around some of the areas and splattering the blood everywhere. Having the two different kinds of bloods just create dimension and make it look more realistic, because that is the goal for this look. And then I felt like the top of my head didn't really tie into this look, so I'm just creating some bruising around my forehead. I'm using purple and yellow and brown eyeshadow. You want the middle of the bruise to be the darkest because that's where like the biggest impact would be. So I'm going to start and just stipple the eyeshadow on. Stippling it makes it look more realistic because a bruise would not just be like a big chunk of eyeshadow. It's going to kind of be different textures and stuff. So it's just kind of going to create a different texture. And so I'm just going in with the purple eyeshadow first, and then around the outsides is where you want to put the yellow because that's where the bruise would start to heal first from the outside in. So that is how to make it look the most realistic. And then I'm just going to splatter some blood around my forehead too, just to kind of tie in everything. So I hope you guys enjoyed this video. This was my first Halloween look for this year. I wanted to make it a little bit more easy. because you can really do this with anything. You can create any type of wound with this technique, so you can just go, you know, and be some sort of zombie. I'm going to do something a little bit more creative next time, but I just wanted to kick off the Halloween looks with this one right here, and I don't normally do like bloody things on my channel, so I wanted to have an excuse to use my scab blood and the regular blood. So I love the way this turned out, and I just think it looks really cool. You can kind of create a wound on your forehead or neck or anything like that, and you can incorporate, you know, so many different costumes with using this technique.